It's a big night for me. It's my first night leaving my new 1 month old at home with his daddy, so I was just like giving my fingers crossed next to my phone. But wanted to come and give you all an update on how my first year in office went as an at-large city councilor, and then what I should be working on for this next year, and checking about other things going on around the neighborhood. And also wanted to thank Mark for coming, and he had already reached out to the elected officials and sat down with, I think, most of the city councilors as well to keep us updated that they were, Public Works is going to be really inclusive and reaching out to the neighborhood on this process. So funny that we're on the same agenda tonight. But my name is Michelle Wu. I'm now a year into my first term on the city council, and in my first year, my focus was what I was talking about on the campaign trail, really starting with small businesses, trying to tackle permitting and licensing, simplifying things so that neighborhood, local business owners could really get through the process faster. When you have a process that is complicated and so many layers, and you have to go to this department and that one and then that one and then back over again, what ends up happening is the big businesses do just fine, the ones that can hire armies of attorneys and consultants and everyone to help them through, but it's the local neighborhood businesses that end up having the 18-month delay and then are pushed to the brink of financial ruin, etc. So one of the first things I did was to convene all of the agencies involved in permitting and licensing small businesses, and then we went on a listening tour all across Boston, listening to small business owners on what the problems actually were and how to fix them. Mayor Walsh has had this as one of his priorities as well. So in the first 12 months, we've seen the ZBA sitting longer hours now, getting through their docket and the wait list, which used to be 4 months when I first started on this project to even get your next hearing date. And now the problem is actually that they're getting through cases too fast. They want to make sure that they're still coming before neighborhood associations. So they're actually trying to slow it down a little bit so that everything can still fit together, but they're working really efficiently now. And in addition to the longer hours, they have a second night that's just for small business owners and homeowner-occupied projects, so that you don't have to get into that same big long line as the downtown developments that are very complicated. In the last couple of weeks, we've also seen so much of the permitting process, the application process go online. So that is really exciting news that we're moving to the point where everyone will be able to apply, check their status, get the updates, do everything from home, from your office, not have to run down to 1010 Mass Ave all the time just to get the forms and get the paperwork and find out what's happening. There's also some work happening around making sure that there's a central contact point. So ONS has really has always historically had the burden of everybody calling saying what's going on with my application and then having to navigate people all throughout all the different agencies. Commissioner Christopher is very interested in making sure that there's a central person at 1010 Mass Ave that once you get there, you will know exactly where to go. Just like, I don't know if y'all have been to City Hall lately, but we have greeters from time to time at the front door to make sure that anybody who comes in has a sense you're just not lost there to wander, but you can have someone help you figure out where to go. So things left on that. I still want to do some cleanup of different licenses. There are a lot of things that we have that date back to a long time ago that I'm not sure are still necessary, like permits for TVs and radio, or want to play that at your restaurant that we don't really deny to anyone, but it's still an extra piece of paper that you have to file and that you have to pay for every single year. So trying to really sort through each of the individual permits and figuring out what do we need, what can be consolidated, and what don't we need anymore. In addition to small business, I've been really focusing on homelessness. Had visited almost every emergency shelter in the city by the winter of last year, and now especially with Long Island and the bridge being shut down, it's ever more urgent. And the mayor administration had now gotten the main now temporary shelter open, and out to the South End Fitness Center to see where folks were then. I haven't been out to see the new one yet, but things are moving along really well, and again, it's high urgency for the city, so a lot of things that the different departments are all balancing, making sure that as winter gets colder and colder, people have a warm place to stay and something to eat. And And then the rest of my work has been around access. So we passed an ordinance to make sure that there was access to equal health care for transgender city employees. And that went through unanimously on the council. I have convened a language access here to make sure that residents from all different language backgrounds can interact with the departments and get the documents in languages that they need, and also communicate with people in their home language. And then some work around open data and making sure that in addition to the small business permits and licenses, every other piece of data that we're collecting, we're thinking about getting it onto the portal so that not only can residents access it from home, but hopefully those who are much more skilled at tech and websites and developers can help us make the tools to understand that better. So it's like how I think about how once the MBTA decided to release the GPS data on subways and the T and buses and all that, within hours, someone from outside government had designed the first website to be able to help you track when the next bus is coming. So we can't do everything in city government, but if we put the information out there, then we can get a lot of help. There's a huge amount of talent in Boston to help us with that. So looking ahead to this year, I've been tackling a couple things. And I had some great conversations with the mayor and other folks in the administration about something that's been very personal to me, maternity leave and maternity leave. It is incredibly hard, and I hear this in every neighborhood, to get that balance when you are growing your family, when you're starting a family, and when daycare and early education is as expensive as college in some cases across the city. So how can we make that better directly for city employees, because that's what we control 100%, and then expanding that out to residents all across Boston. In addition, a couple more things on licensing and permitting. I want to get more stuff online. I want to get more of the restrictions taken away in a way that still incorporates community process. And then want to keep going on in a fossil fuel divestment hearing order that I had filed, where I think we as a city really should think about whether our money is where our mouth is in terms of how we're investing our money, whether that fits with environmentally sustainable values. So that's kind of the broad outline. Of course, number one for my office is always constituent services. And one big thing that wasn't quite policy oriented that I've been doing is after every council meeting, typing up the notes in just plain English on what happened that day, and then posting it on Facebook, on Twitter, and then emailing it out to people who are interested. So there's a lot that comes in and out of the council. A lot of it's really tiny things, some are big things that don't necessarily get covered in the mainstream media. We rely on our local reporters to help us out, but if you want to get that up-to-date, week-by-week playbook on what happened at the city council that week, let me know, and I can definitely add you to the list. Are you on Orangefield? Or feel free to forward it out to the group if you're interested. But trying to make sure that we are always transparent and accountable, and making sure that residents have access to anything they need. So, any questions for me or things that I should be thinking about working on?
Very, very fortunate the topic I'm about to bring up is not an issue in the North End, and hopefully that will stay that way. I'm alarmed at the very low clearance rate in solving homicides, and I'm impressed about that, especially over the last 10 years, the trend. And I'm going to be attending the Mayor's State of the City address tomorrow night, and I'm curious if that's something he's going to address. Aside from that, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and
what can be done to make that better?
Or whoever's had a sneak peek, but hopefully we'll find out tomorrow. Commissioner Evans has been in touch with the councilors from weeks before the decision came out, and the police department has been extremely proactive about recognizing what is happening nationally, as well as recognizing the ways in which Boston is doing much better than that, but also has a far way to go. So the clearance rate can come up. Community policing has been part of the conversation from the beginning, and remains kind of the first thing that the police department goes to. And other ways to make sure that we are really knitting together pieces of clergy, of education, of neighborhoods, because I think one big challenge often with the clearance rate can be that you need people to come forward afterwards and feel comfortable reporting information, and oftentimes feeling scared that something might happen in terms of retribution, or that there's not that trust to begin with where they should be able to reach out to the police. But if they're, you know, the officer from basketball games over the weekend and just being around at Haley House and other cafes that you spend, restaurants that you spend time at, can help to strengthen that relationship. So I know there's been a focus on more walking beats, more cops on bicycles and out and about instead of sitting in the police cars to get that face-to-face interaction. And I believe the district attorney has just hosted an event as well on clearance rates and the prosecution angle. I was on just on the week, so I didn't know exactly what happened, but I'll get out with those for my staff and take a little bit of details.
Any questions from the audience? Thank you, Councilor.
My two phone numbers, the office and the cell phone, and I can go to the wherever you need. The office is 617-635-3115, and then cell phone is 617-599-0449. So reach out anytime. Okay, and I'm gonna run home and make sure there's not a crime.